Welcome to Draft Utopia on Restream. Chris Ransom, Joseph Potter. We got 4 topics lined up for you guys. Paul Skenes MLB debut, some WNBA season previews, NBA playoff recaps, and we also have an NHL mock draft. We're going to use an NHL Draft Simulator at the very end of today's show. But we will open up with the big exciting news that the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to start Paul Skenes against the Chicago Cubs today. I think this is the most exciting story in sports right now, Joey. We have 2 of the top 3 picks from the MLB draft in the majors. Wyatt Langford for the Texas Rangers, who went 4th overall. And so 2 of the top 4 picks, and now Paul Skenes. So obviously very exciting storylines in Major League Baseball. And this is a big game for Paul Skenes. He's making his MLB debut. He's facing the Chicago Cubs, a 0.99 ERA in AAA with the Indianapolis Indians. And his velocity has been off the charts in AAA, throwing 104, 100, 105 miles an hour with his 4-seam fastball. So it's going to be a big day for Paul Skenes. It's going to be a big day for Bucco fans that head over to PNC Park as well. And this is also probably the most anticipated debut since Steven Strasburg went to PNC Park to take on the Pittsburgh Pirates back in 2010, where he had like 14 or 16 strikeouts against the Pirates in his big league debut. That's the type of traction this game is building, and it's going to be Justin Steele pitching for the Chicago Cubs against Paul Skenes. But we usually don't open up with baseball, but the number 1 pick in last year's draft is making his MLB debut. It's a big story. I figured this would be a good story to open with. And I know you texted me. You were watching some of Skenes' film before we went live. Yeah, and I think it's going to be very exciting to see what happens. And looking at all the search results for Paul Skenes on YouTube, we've got WTAE, that's the ABC News in Pittsburgh. They've made a video about Paul Skenes' debut. Baseball America made a 11-minute video about Paul Skenes, calling him a generational arm. 3 minutes, 11 seconds. Yahoo Sports called it the biggest pitching debut in a decade. DK Pittsburgh Sports also had a 9-minute press conference. Post-Gazette Sports had a 16-minute press conference on Paul Skenes. Kevin Millar, who hosts Foul Territory, did a 12-minute video on Paul Skenes. So you can tell ESPN MLB, 9 minutes, 17 seconds. So you can tell 3 weeks ago, Paul Skenes was on the Pat McAfee show. He said he isn't sure when he'll be called up to the Pirates, but Paul Skenes was the ace pitcher for the Indianapolis Indians. And since he was in that Indy area, it was pretty easy for Pat McAfee to work his magic and get him on his show. So, it's going to be a very interesting debut for Paul Skenes today, going up against one of the better veterans in Justin Steele. So, this is going to be a big game for both the Cubs and the Pirates, because this is the type of game where Paul Skenes can rally the Pirates. It could help them turn the team around. And, the Pirates are 17-21. They got off to a really good start in April, and then they sort of bounced. They sort of went into a slump. And the Cubs have been a lot better since struggling early in the season. But yeah, last year there was that Paul Skenes, Rhett Lauder pitchers duel. I remember it. And You thought, I remember you going into that game, you were thinking Louder would be the better of the two prospects, but Louder got promoted to Double A earlier this week, and Paul Skenes was able to start out in Double A last year, work his way up to Triple A. Now he's in the majors and he's playing the Cubs today. This could either be really good or it could be a disaster. I mean, look, he's been dominant in AAA. There's no reason to think this won't continue. And he had 8 strikeouts in 3 innings for the Indianapolis Indians. I could see this game, and a lot of people are saying Paul Skenes, the Pirates are going to limit him to like 100 innings. And that's going to be it for this year. They're going to limit him to 100 innings on the year. And I don't know if that's exactly going to happen. If he plays like he has in AAA, I could see him getting to 125 or 150 on the year. But temper those expectations, Pirate fans. Don't. He was NCAA co-freshman of the year with Dylan Cruz, his LSU teammate, when he was at Air Force. Had a 2.96 ERA, 96 strikeouts. He won Mountain West Pitcher of the Year the second year, and then he went into the portal and went to LSU, 1.69 ERA, 13-2, 122.2 innings, SEC Pitcher of the Year, 209 strikeouts, 2 complete games. He had 120 pitches in 8 innings against Wake Forest without giving up a run. And he has a 100-mile-an-hour four-seamer, a 99-mile-an-hour two-seamer, an 85 slider, an 89 power slider. It's almost like your typical slider, almost like a power curveball, an 88 changeup, and a power changeup that goes up to 93. Most say he's limited to 3 pitches, but he's actually has 6 pitches if you take the variety of pitches into account, like the power slider, the power changeup, the variety of the fastballs. So that's the thing. And it's not just the variety of pitches. He's played at a high level wherever he's gone, whether it's Air Force, whether it's LSU, whether it's the Altoona Curve in AA, the Indianapolis Indians in AAA. He's performed at a high level wherever he's gone, Joey. That's probably the biggest reason why he's been called up so quickly. And you're going to have... Yeah. because he was in rookie ball, single A and double A last year after signing his rookie contract with the Pirates, and then he got promoted to triple A before spring training, and he was so dominant in triple A that he's already in the majors, and it hasn't even been a full year since he was drafted. It's going to be a very exciting game. And the Pirates, they do have some talented pitchers in their starting rotation. They do have they have a pitcher in they have Mitch Keller, and they obviously have another pitcher from the 2020 MLB draft. I think it's Josh Jones. Jared Jones. It's Jared Jones. Jared Jones is the Pittsburgh Pirates 2020 second round pick. I did not expect him to be called up to the MLB, but he's had an impact in the MLB. And now you have those three pitchers, Mitch Keller, Paul Skenes, Jared Jones. You have your 1 through 3 in that rotation. You're going to be getting more guys up pretty soon. But I'm just curious to see what Skenes can do to be the catalyst, because it kind of reminds me of when the Pirates had Garrett Cole, and his stuff on the mound is filthy. So I think it's going to be a very anticipated game. They have Justin Steele on the mound. Justin Steele is one of the better pitchers in the MLB this year, and I think that is going to be a key to this game. I think Justin Steele's one of the better pitchers. His ERA is 0.96 this year. So this could be a pitcher's duel between Skenes and Steele on the year, because Steele's one pitcher with an ERA of under 1 on the season, one starting pitcher with an ERA of under 1 on the year. And Paul Skenes at a 0.99 in AAA. So this could be like a 0-0 game heading into the 7th. There's a reason the Pirates are charging more for. Usually the Pirates charge $10, $15 for a Saturday game. It costs $38 on Game Time, double the price of what you normally pay for a Pirates ticket, and $57 when you take taxes into account. There's a good reason why the Pirates are charging more than usual for this game against the Cubs today, Joey. We're not criticizing the team. Yeah, because if he turns things around for the Pirates, they've got 3 quality pitchers now, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I am looking at the lineups for the Cubs. This is the Cubs lineup last night. I'm sure there will be some changes, but batting first, Nico Horner. Batting second, Tauchman. Right fielder, Cody Bellinger bats third at designated hitter. Morrill bats fourth at third baseman. Former Mount Lebanon alumnus Ian Happ bats fifth. Ian Happ, he went to Mount Lebanon, then I think he went to Cincinnati Bearcats, and then he got drafted by the Cubs. Mastro Buoni bats sixth at second baseman. Bush bats second. Amaya bats eighth, and Pete Crow Armstrong bats ninth. And just looking at the Cubs this year, they do not have a 10 home run hitter, but Morel leads the team with 8 home runs. Bellinger has 7. And there's just a good variety of balance on the Cubs. So, and I'm guessing Dansby Swanson, their shortstop, is injured because I'm guessing because I don't see him on the lineup for the Cubs. But, the Cubs are favored by -1.5 on the point spread. So they're expected to win by 2 runs. And the yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think we get 8 from Skenes, and I think we get 6 or 7 from Steele. Brian Reynolds, Brian Hayes for the Pirates at left fielder and third base. Andrew McCutchen bats 5th. O'Neill Cruz bats 7th. Grandal bats 9th. I'm looking at the bench here for the Pirates. Nick Gonzalez, they brought him up on the bench. Joey Bart. I don't know if Joey Bart's injured or if he's in kind of a slump. I think Henry Davis, the catcher, the Pirates drafted #1 overall in 2021, is injured. But yeah, this is going to be a very interesting game between the Pirates and the Cubs. I like the Pirates today. The spread's -1.5 for the Cubs, but I am curious. What's the money line? The over under is 7 runs. That's the over under. I think that is way too high of an over under. And the under is the favorite. The under's the favorite. DraftKings set that line. You have a pitcher with a 0.96 ERA on the Cubs, and you have a pitcher with a 0.99 ERA in the minors and Skenes. So honestly, the over under should be like somewhere in the 3 to 5 range, personally. Yeah. The over under should not be 7. It should be like 3 or 4 or 5, something like that. Because both these starting pitchers have ERAs of under 1, which is insane. Yeah. Well, the money line for the over-under is -115 on under 7 runs and +105 on over 7 runs. It's that close. And it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. It should be like -700 on the under and +300 on the over. Let's be real. That's what it should be. I guess I am. But I'm not as generous as DraftKings with this over under 7 runs, -115 on under 7 runs, +105 on over 7 runs. That's just easy money. So I'm just looking at the injuries for the Pirates as far as so they do have a few players that are out with injuries. I don't know. Yeah, Dansby Swanson's on IL. Jordan Wicks is on he's going to come back in mid-May. Kyle Hendricks is injured. Smiley's injured. The Cubs do have a lot of injuries, but Justin Steele, a guy who missed the beginning of the year, is their one healthy pitcher that is effective. So I think it's going to be a great game. Honestly, I do think this. I have noticed the same thing with a lot of pitchers. It's either been Tommy John surgery or forearm injuries or back injuries or knee injuries. It's been something. And because the Braves' best pitcher got Tommy John surgery, so did the Guardians pitcher Shane Bieber. So yeah, these injuries have been all across the board. There are 8 pitchers in Major League Baseball who have pitched 40 innings and have an ERA of under 2. 8. Do you know who any of them are? Do you want to take a guess at who any of them are? Well, 2 of them are on the Cubs. Shota Imanga, the pitcher the Cubs signed from Japan, 41.2 innings, 1.08 ERA. Ranger Suarez, 7-0, 1.50 ERA. Ronaldo Lopez, 2-1, 1.53 ERA. I think that was a call-up to replace Smiley, the Braves' leading pitcher from 2023. Zach Wheeler, 1.64 ERA, ace pitcher on the Phillies. Javier Assad, 1.70 ERA, 3-0. Seth Lugo, the Royals ace, 1.74 ERA. Hunter Crawford, 2-1 with the Red Sox, 46.1 innings pitched, 8 starts. And Tarek Skubal, the Detroit Tigers ace. Those are the pitchers with good ERAs this year. Under 2. And, Brady Singer, a pitcher I loved coming out of Florida, struggled with the Royals, but his ERA is at 2.36 through 8 starts right now. If Singer can continue that trajectory, the Kansas City Royals, not only will they have a number 1 starter, Lugo and Singer, they'll have that 1-2 punch. I think the Royals right now are probably the biggest threat to the Guardians, but as far as a lot of people are saying the Twins are the biggest threat. No, with the way the Royals are pitching and with Bobby Witt Jr., I would argue the Royals are a bigger threat to the Guardians right now. And I know that's playing devil's advocate, Joey, but that's honestly what my gut's telling me is that the Royals, with their 2 pitchers, if they keep pitching this well, Lugo and Singer, they're probably a bigger threat to the Guardians than the Twins are at the moment because they've got 2 pitchers with an ERA of under 2.4. Their best batter, Royce Lewis, is on IL. That's why they have struggled. Their best batter, Royce Lewis, number 1 pick in the 2017 MLB draft, who got hot in the second half of this year, is on IL. That's why they have struggled. The Twins are only a game and a half back of the Guardians. They're ahead of the Royals at the moment, but I think the Royals are a bigger threat to the Guardians. I mean, it's tight right now. Guardians are 24 and 15, Twins are 23 and 15, Royals are 24 and 16. It's very tight between those three in the AL Central. Yep. And the Pirates, it feels like they got to win today to get back in the thick of the NL Central. And if they don't, then their season's probably over. But, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in that game against the Cubs today. Because I basically said heading into the preseason, I expect them to finish third behind the Cubs and Reds. But if Paul Skenes gets called up, they have a chance to play the dark horse. And they started off the year really good. They cooled off after that, though. And now you're in a position where Skenes has a chance to right the ship. And I said 80 wins. I thought 80 wins would be realistic for the Pirates. I did not come into this season with them being a playoff team. I said they could get 80 wins if Paul Skenes gets called up and everything clicks. And I still believe they can. They're 17 and 22 on the year. I still believe 80 wins is obtainable. I don't think they make the playoffs this year, but I think an 80-win season is obtainable if Paul Skenes steps up. And I still stand by that statement, Joey. Yeah. And that's what's going to make it an exciting game. We can keep talking about the MLB. We do have some other topics we're going to address, though, like the WNBA. We're going to talk about the playoff games in the NBA and the NHL, and then we'll get to the NHL Draft Simulator at the end. But I'm thinking we get into some of the WNBA conversation here with the WNBA season starting on Tuesday because, I think it's going to be very interesting to see. I went through I went through all the team previews that Lisa did for the WNBA, all 12, and I like the Liberty this year. It's not that the Aces can't three-peat. It's just that Candace Parker retired right after the WNBA draft, and Alyssa Clark, or the backup to Candace, is going to be starting at power forward. I think there's a few teams that have better starting fives than the Liberty, but I still think the Aces make the WNBA finals. I have them losing to the Liberty, though. I think the Liberty are just hungrier. They have a better team on paper this year. And with Parker retiring, I do think that lowers. It's just very hard to three-peat in sports. Becky Hammond is the best coach in the WNBA. I'm not taking anything away from her or her team. I just think it's very hard to three-peat in sports. And right now, I like the Liberty a little bit more than the Aces right now. And it's interesting because Lisa hasn't even had the Liberty Aces in the finals. She has the Liberty beating the Dallas Wings, who lost in the conference finals to Vegas last year. They got swept by Vegas last year, but they did bring in J.C. Sheldon at shooting guard. Jokic almost became the first to three-peat since Larry Bird last year. They four-peated in the WNBA. When the WNBA first started from 97, they won 4 in a row from 97 to 2000 before folding in 2004. Yeah. Yeah, but the Liberty were the only team in the WNBA with 5 starters that averaged over 10 points a game. Aces had 9.9 last year with Candace Parker, but Candace Parker retires. Alyssa Clark, who only had 6.7 points per game as a power forward off the bench, comes in as a starter. And if she can't pick up where Parker left off, there is a weakness on that Aces team. When the Aces won their first WNBA title, Becky Hammond, there really wasn't a dominant team that had a good starting 5. You have one now in the Liberty. And if J.C. Sheldon, the Ohio State shooting guard, pans out for the Dallas Wings, the Wings are going to have the best starting 5 in the Western Conference rather than the Aces. But I still like the Aces over the Wings because the Aces swept the Wings in last year's conference finals. So I'm still taking them over the Wings, but Camila Cardoso, even when she comes back, she's going to be the bench player because the plan this entire time was let's have her as the backup to Elizabeth Williams for a year, and then we'll make her a full-time starter in 2025. So I could see why Lisa said the Chicago Sky are in kind of a rebuild, and they swapped first-round picks with the Dallas Wings. So if the Chicago Sky win the WNBA lottery, the Dallas Wings, who already have a complete starting 5, would get the number 1 pick in the WNBA draft next year, not the Sky. They did. The reason most people believe the Sky are a bottom 4 team is simple. The Chicago Sky only have one starter who averaged over 10 points a game from last year's team returning. And I don't even think she's the best player on the team now. Mabry's good player, but I would argue Angel Reese is now the best player on that team. As good as Maria Mabry is, I would argue Reese is the best player on that roster. Cameron Brink and Rakea Jackson have been fantastic for the LA Sparks. So I wouldn't go to that extreme just yet. But you could have been third to the guy instead of seventh. That attitude rubs some teams the wrong way. And, Cardoso and Rakea Jackson were locked in at 3 and 4 because Cardoso beat Angel Reese in the SEC tournament. Cameron Brink was locked in, only a finalist outside of Caitlin Clark. So number 4 was JC Sheldon because the Dallas Wings needed a shooting guard. Yes, Angel Reese is a positionalist player, but JC Sheldon is an ideal combo guard, and that was the big need Dallas had. Now, Mystics probably should have picked Angel Reese at 6. They took Elijah Edwards, who's a great defender, but a horrible three-point shooter. Angel Reese would have been a better pick at 6 than Elijah Edwards, but the Mystics, they didn't want to deal with that. They didn't want to deal with a situation where Elena Del Don comes back after taking a year off, and Angel Reese is the face of the team now. They didn't want to deal with that controversy, so they passed on Reese. They took Edwards, which Edwards is a great defender, but a terrible three-point shooter. Well, you need more than 2 good players to win in the WNBA. I mean, Reese and Mabry will only get you so far. And even when Cardoso comes back, she's going to be playing off the bench behind Elizabeth Williams this year. Next year, she'll be starting full-time. So I do think the Sky can make some noise next season, but they're only going to go as far as Mabry and Angel Reese takes them this year. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah. I think the Mystics without Elena Del Don and the Phoenix Mercury are probably the 2 worst teams in the league this year. Even though I do think the Sky are in a rebuild and will finish outside the top 8, I think at the very worst, the Sky are 3rd or 4th in terms of worst record. But if they finish with the 3rd or 4th worst record and miss the playoffs and they won the WNBA lottery, in that scenario, the Dallas Wings would get the number 1 pick in next year's draft, even though they don't really need it because their pick swap with the Chicago Sky. Meanwhile, on the flip side, if the Dallas Wings are in the WNBA finals, the Chicago Sky are not picking until number 11 or 12. Actually, be 12 or 13 with the San Francisco team joining the WNBA. Yeah, San Francisco's getting an expansion team next year. The Golden State Warriors purchased a team, and they got the 13th WNBA team. Portland was supposed to get the 14th team, but their owner negotiations between the WNBA and their owner broke down, fell apart. So they had to pivot and they chose Toronto. And what's even crazier is there were rumors from Lisa, I heard, that Stan Kroenke made an active pitch to get Denver a WNBA team. And the league basically denied him for Portland, and then they denied him for Toronto. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, Denver's getting the 15th team because they're going to expand to 16 teams by 2028. The commissioner of the WNBA already said they're expanding to 16 teams. So if the WNBA turned down Kroenke Sports Entertainment twice for Portland before talks fell apart, and Toronto, who's getting the 14th WNBA team in 2026, I can guarantee you Denver's one of those two expansion teams in 2028. I can pretty much guarantee that. Yeah, and here's what I've heard as far as the 16th team goes, because it's pretty obvious. San Francisco's guaranteed the 13th WNBA team in 2025. Toronto's getting the 14th team in 2026. I think Denver's getting the 15th team. If there are reports already that Kroenke's been trying to make a bid for a Denver WNBA team and has been turned down twice, I can pretty much say that Denver is probably going to get the 15th WNBA team. And if I'm wrong, you can come back, watch this video, and roast me in 4 or 5 years. The 16th team's up for grabs, though. There's Philadelphia's in the market. The commissioner said that Philadelphia's in discussion. Nashville, and they Florida, but none of the city that's reportedly interested in the WNBA team is not interested in the NBA team. From what I heard from Lee, Jacksonville does get an WNBA team. It'll be the Cons making that bid to get that team. And Nashville, I don't think they're overly enthusiastic about a WNBA team. They're already getting a stadium, and they're getting a new stadium for Nissan. I don't think the WNBA goes to Nashville because the taxpayers in Nashville are already paying for the new Nissan stadium, and Nashville could be getting an expansion MLB team, and they'd have to build that pay for that stadium as well. So I don't think the Nashville
sign off on a WNBA team for that reason. They might get one in the 2030s when things settle down, but I don't think they'll get one right now. That they might, I think it's really down to Philly and Jacksonville for that 16th WNBA team, because the Sixers are building a new stadium in Market East District in 2031. Are they willing to put up as much money as the Cons are? I think that's really what the 16th WNBA team is going to come down to. Obviously, Philadelphia is a bigger market than Jacksonville, but are they willing to outbid the Cons to get the 16th team? I think that's really what this comes down to. Here's the thing, Joey. If Jacksonville does, in fact, get the 16th WNBA team, you would have the WNBA team starting in May of 2028. You'd also have the Jaguars' new indoor renovation for Everbank Stadium completed as the WNBA season is concluding in the fall of 2028. So you'd be getting both a expansion WNBA team and the new renovations to the Jaguar Stadium being finalized in the same time period, with both of those things coinciding in the same timeline, right around 2028. Yeah. If Jacksonville does get in that arena where they build ECHL teams, and it's not enough, they will make do with that for the first few years, and then by 2030 or 2031, they'll start looking at getting a newer arena, a bigger arena for the WNBA team if they do get an expansion. Brook Park. I think it'll be Philadelphia and Cleveland. If I think Cleveland, the Philly and Nashville, then they'd add Cleveland to make it 20. Probably Portland at that point. It is. Yeah. And next, Joey, do you have anything you want to say on like a WNBA finals prediction or WNBA playoff team? A lot of good teams in the. I think it's going to come down to the Liberty and Aces again, but playoffs with Clark. I think Atlanta Dream, Connecticut Sun get in. And then in the West, I like the Aces and Wings, obviously. But I also like the LA Sparks, and I'm kind of torn between the Minnesota Lynx and Seattle Sounders. Lisa has it's not the Sounders, it's the Seattle Storm. Lisa's got the Storm in because they have a young, energetic coach. And their small forward, which was their weakness last year, did a boot camp with Joel Lloyd, the team's leading scorer. So, and the Storm have been very consistent. 18 playoff appearances in 24 years, despite missing last year's playoffs. The Seattle Storm have been one of the most consistent teams in the league. So I'm kind of debating between the Lynx and the Storm. I really wouldn't be surprised if we got 5 teams from the West and only 3 from the East with Connecticut, Indiana, and the Liberty. That really wouldn't shock me. I know it would shock you, but at the same time, I think the level of competition in WNBA is at an all-time high right now. It's interesting. When they had Candace Parker, they won the 2021 WNBA Finals, and then they lost to the Aces in 2022 with Candace Parker with some good starters, and then Candace Parker ended up signing with the Aces. So that'd be a rematch of 2022 if that were the case. So yeah, I'm going to look at the WNBA standings on Tankathon here. They have the Liberty and Aces in the finals. They have the Chicago Sky finishing with the second worst record behind the LA Sparks. They are projecting the Chicago Sky to have the second worst record in the league. I don't agree with that, but I think they will be in the bottom 4. There is a WNBA mock draft that has the Chicago Sky in the finals, I believe. I think it was NBADraftRoom.com. I think they have the Sky in the finals too. I could be wrong on that. Or they might have the Dallas Wings in the finals, but the Sky picking. I'm double checking right now to figure out what's what. Wow, Bleacher Report has the Chicago worst record. Lisa had, I think they finished with the 3rd or 4th worst record, but Bleacher Report has the Chicago Sky finishing with the worst record in the league. Yeah, I was kind of surprised by that myself. And they've got the Aces beating the Dallas Wings in the WNBA Finals, with the Sky picking at 11th and the Dallas Wings picking at 3rd with the Chicago Sky's draft pick. Yeah. So that's interesting. More than 2 in this league.
Interesting. I'm reading a forum here, the boneyard.com. It's a UConn basketball site. The Athletic has Paige Buchers going number 1, but they do not say where they so Paige Buchers goes number 1 to Dallas in the WNBA mock, with the Chicago Sky having the worst record in the league. That's according to Bleacher Report. I mean, the Chicago Sky the problem with the Sky is they have 2 stars, but every team in the WNBA has a minimum of 3 to 4 quality starters at the bare minimum. And the Sky right now only have 2 players that are projected to score over 10 points a game in Mabry and Angel Reese. That's it. Those are the only 2 players in the Sky projected to score over 10 points a game this year. So they're only going to go as far as those 2 take them. Maybe those 2 come in and dominate the league. Maybe Angel Reese comes in and dominates the league to the point where she beats out Caitlin Clark for Rookie of the Year. I'm not saying it can't happen. I just think it's unlikely to happen. But that's what would have to happen for the Sky to make the finals. Okay, with Chicago Sky picking the Chicago Sky making the playoffs, finishing 6th. That's realistic, but they also have the Golden State. The Golden already said that the NBA team is going to be called Golden State. On women's sports saying it's the Golden State WNBA team. No, they're going to be the San Francisco WNBA team. They're not going to be called Golden State like the Warriors. They're going to be San Francisco, whatever. But Raven Johnson to San Francisco. And this mock draft also has Cheyenne Sellers falling to the 2nd round, which I do think a lot of players coming. I agree.
And the New York Liberty would get that pick. The New York Liberty would get that pick. They have the worst record in the league. The Liberty can swap picks with the Phoenix Mercury. According to Beyond Women's Sports, they can pick swap with the. They have the option to pick swap with the Phoenix Mercury, which would kind of sucks because it's just the rich getting richer, especially if the Liberty get back to the WNBA Finals this year. For them to get Gookers. Yeah, it's going to be a fun season. Up in the sky, I've got the Liberty Aces. Lisa's got the Liberty over the Dallas Wings. But regardless of how you spin it, it's going to be an interesting WNBA season. I am going to talk about the NBA and NHL playoffs, and then I will load up the NHL Draft Simulator. But yeah, why are we doing this? We got some NBA playoffs. We didn't really talk about the NBA last week. I forgot. We were going to preview Game 7 of the Cavs Magic, but I forgot. But yeah, right now the Timberwolves lead the Nuggets 2-1. Timberwolves dominated in Denver, but they laid an egg against the Nuggets in Game 3. Mavericks and Thunder is tied 1-1. That's at 3:30 today on ABC. The Celtics play the Cavs in Cleveland tonight. That is 8:30 on ABC. The Knicks play the Pacers Sunday at 3:30 on ABC. And the NBA Draft Lottery is going to take place before that at 3 p.m. Eastern on ABC. So the NBA Draft Lottery, instead of being on a Tuesday, it's going to be on a Sunday afternoon on Mother's Day. For the first time ever, the NBA Lottery is going to be on a Sunday. What's interesting is Brian Bayless predicted that the winner of whoever wins the Western Conference between the Thunder, Nuggets, and Timberwolves would win the NBA Finals because all three of those teams have healthy starting fives. Cavs have an injured Jared Allen. The Celtics have an injured Porzingis. Pacers have 4 good starters, but not starting 5, and the same could be said with the Knicks. So there really isn't a dominant team in the East this year right now as far as Evan Mobley did well at center against the Magic in Game 7. And Emmanuel Watson expected Donovan Mitchell to be the guy who choked in the playoffs. But that, I would argue, Darius Garland has done more to hurt the Cavs in the playoffs than Donovan Mitchell this year. Yeah. And really, there's only 3 NBA teams with a point guard, forward, and center that are averaging 10 games. One of those teams is Oklahoma City. The other is Denver. The third team is Minnesota. With the Celtics conversation if Porzingis wasn't in, but because he's injured, there really isn't a super now, and there's 3 in the West. Well, Okoro moved to power forward and Mobley moved to center, and everybody in the Cavs starting 5 scored 12 points a game against the Celtics. That's how they beat the Celtics in Game 2, 118-94. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. I think the Thunder win today. I think the Celtics win. Good stuff. But yeah, as far as the NHL playoffs go, and then I'll get into the draft simulator for the NHL. It looks like the Rangers and Florida Panthers are on a collision course to the Eastern Conference Finals. And basically, first week of April, before the Capitals had that if you ain't first, you last speech after getting in before Joey took the Capitals as an upset, we both basically said on this podcast we expect to see the Rangers and Florida Panthers in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Rangers lead the Hurricanes 3-0 after sweeping the Capitals. The Rangers, the Hurricanes are the betting favorite to win the Stanley Cup on FanDuel. But one thing I've noticed is the Hurricanes' blue line's a lot weaker than it was the last 2 years. And that's a big reason why I picked the Rangers to win this series. And I mean, Florida's had 2 statement wins against the Bruins, 6-1 and 6-2 after losing 5-1 to the Bruins on their home ice. So I just think the Rangers and the Panthers are on a collision course to meet in the Eastern Conference Finals. These are the 2 most complete teams in the Eastern Conference. And, this could be the Stanley Cup if Dallas gets eliminated by Colorado, because I cannot see Colorado beating either one of these teams. I can't see Edmonton beating either one of these teams with an interim head coach, even though they've got a better shot than Colorado, in my opinion. And I can't see Vancouver with a third string goalie beating either one of these teams. And among the 8 teams left in the Stanley Cup, the only 2 without a championship are the Florida Panthers and the Vancouver Canucks. So I feel like that's the Stanley Cup Joey is rooting for as a fan, with Dallas knocking Vegas out in Game 7, with Peter DeBoer improving to 8-0 in Game 7s, tying Red Auerbach of the Celtics in that respect for 8-0 in Game 7s. He would break Auerbach's record with another Game 7 victory. That's the crazy part. And Dallas slayed their biggest demon, the Vegas Golden Knights. They beat them in Game 7, and they led Colorado 3-0 in Game 1, blew a lead and lost to Colorado in overtime. They led 4-0 in Game 2 after 2 periods, and they won 5-3. Colorado made it a 1-goal game, but Dallas was able to score an empty net goal to make it 5-3. Yeah. I think Dallas and Colorado is going to go to 6 or 7 games, and Dallas will win the series. But Colorado is just playing their hearts out right now. I feel like they are going to win Game 3 or 4. But Dallas is one of these teams that I just see until they get knocked out, you can't count them out because their depth, 8 20-goal scorers, it's just a ridiculous number. They have DeBoer, they have Ottinger. It just feels like all the breaks are going their way. And Dallas is the one team that I can see beating either Florida or the Rangers in the Stanley Cup. I can't see anybody else from the West doing it this year. If Colorado gets Landeskog back, I could see them beating one of these teams and getting a second cup in 3 years. But it comes down to that. If they don't get him back this year, I think whoever comes out of the East beats them if they get by Dallas and they get by Vancouver, Edmonton. Vancouver, they do have a good defense, good offense, but they have a third string goalie right now. And they're not going to get Thatcher Demko, their starting goalie, back until Game 5 at the very earliest. And right now, Vancouver, Edmonton's 1-1. Vancouver won Game 1 after the Oilers blew a 4-1 lead. And the Oilers beat Vancouver in overtime after Vancouver led after 2 periods. So I think both of those series are very interesting. But at the start of these playoffs, I had Dallas, Edmonton, Florida, and the Rangers in the conference finals. Because on paper, those are the 4 most complete teams, in my honest opinion. So that's why I had those 4 in the conference finals. So everything's gone as expected. But Colorado's going to win a game at home. And I'm thinking it's probably going to be tonight because the puck drop in Colorado isn't going to be until 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. That's how late they're starting the Colorado-Dallas game. They're waiting until 10 Eastern to start that game. So it's going to be awfully late.
But, if Dallas can keep McKinnon and McCarr from scoring and they keep playing like they did, they keep adjusting, they could very easily adjust and overcome their weaknesses. But it's going to be a very tight game 3 between Dallas and Colorado. I think the Western Conference is just more entertaining than the East right now, Joey, because we kind of know what's going to happen in the East. We know the Rangers and Panthers are on a collision course to the Eastern Conference Finals. Whereas, because the Rangers lead the Hurricanes 3-0. They're 7-0 in the playoffs, and the Florida Panthers beaten the Bruins 6-1 and 6-2 the last 2 games. So it just feels like they're on a collision course. That's already been decided. It feels like that's already been decided. The Bruins still have a chance to come back, but, it feels like that series has already been decided. The momentum Florida has, outscoring Boston 12-3 in the last 2 games. I just don't see them losing that series. And Florida was your pick to win the Stanley Cup at the start of this. So, I don't see Florida losing to Boston. And yeah, I am going to look. Yeah, and Toronto fired Sheldon Keefe. Toronto took Boston to overtime in Game 7, and they decided to fire their head coach after losing Game 7 in overtime. I wouldn't have gone that route. Like, if you had gotten swept, I think you could justify firing your coach. You lost in overtime of Game 7. I don't think you can justify that. But I get it. You went from knocking out Tampa and getting in the second round to, okay, yeah, and Bednar and DeBoer were joking, saying that if you're an NHL head coach, it's like dating somebody, getting married, and then getting divorced. That's basically what they said when it came to recent coaching firings. And they were joking about that in their press conferences. Both the Avalanche and Stars head coaches, they were joking about that. So, and they're not wrong in that respect. They're not. Well, when Sheldon Keefe was fired from Toronto, he was the 5th longest tenured head coach in the NHL. 3 coaches that were tenured longer than him include Jared Bednar of Colorado, John Cooper of Tampa Bay, Mike Sullivan of Pittsburgh. I can't remember the 4th coach who was tenured longer than him as a head coach. Edmonton fired Jay Woodcroft in the offseason, so it's not him. Peter DeBoer has only been with Dallas for like a year. This is his 2nd year with the Dallas Stars. So I'm just trying to think at the top of my head, who is that 4th coach who was tenured longer than Sheldon Keefe of Toronto? It's not Edmonton, it's not Dallas, it's not Vegas, and it's Pittsburgh, Tampa, Colorado. Who's that 4th team outside of Tampa Bay, Colorado, and Pittsburgh with the 4th longest tenured head coach? Because it's not coming to me at the top of my head right now. That's the thing.
Okay, here we go. Sports Not. Longest tenured coaches after Sheldon Keefe firing. Paul Maurice, Florida Panthers, June 22nd, 2022. Peter DeBoer, Dallas Stars, June 21st, 2022. He's the Dallas Stars coach. Number 8, John Tortorella, Philadelphia Flyers, June 17th, 2022. He did well with the Flyers. The Flyers were supposed to be a bottom feeder. He had them in contention. Bruce Cassidy, Vegas Golden Knights, June 14th, 2022. Martin St. Louis, Montreal Canadiens, February 9th, 2022. Andre Toringi, Arizona Coyotes head coach, July 1st, 2021. Oh, I never would have guessed that. Rod Brindamore. Okay, Brindamore, the Hurricanes, May 18th, 2018. How did I miss Brindamore? How? I deserve to be roasted for... Yeah, so Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay... Yeah, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, Colorado, and Carolina have the 4 longest tenured head coaches in the NHL. They're the only teams with a head coach since 2018 or earlier still with the team. Those are the only 4 teams in the NHL that have that. So, and Brindamore's the only one without a title as a coach, but he won a Stanley Cup as a player. So, you know. And he's been to multiple Eastern Conference finals. He took the Hurricanes to the 2019 Eastern Conference finals. He took the Hurricanes to the 2023 Eastern Conference finals. So he's been to multiple Eastern Conference finals, Rod Brindamore. Yep. Unfortunately, but yeah, I am going to get to the NHL Draft Simulator, folks. San Jose Sharks, they did win the lottery. This is a very easy by the numbers pick. Macklin Celebrini, 32 goals, 32 assists, 64 points. I did a film cut on Macklin Celebrini for the YouTube channel. Did you know he lined up as a defenseman on the power play? And he's lined up at both left defenseman and right defenseman in addition to left wing, right wing, and center. I know the term positionalist player applies to many NBA players. It also applies to Macklin Celebrini. You'll have Macklin Celebrini, Mikael Granlund, who had 60 points as the Sharks' top line center this past season, Will Smith from Boston College, and Patrick Marleau, the team captain of the San Jose Sharks, as your top 4 centers next season. Marleau only played 6 years due to multiple injuries, all 82 games. So 4 stays healthy. The San Jose Sharks are going to have a lot of depth at center. Still going to need wingers, defensemen, goaltending, but at least they have their identity at center. And I think that will make them a more with Macklin Celebrini being the only player in this draft expected to come up to the NHL right away. So, Macklin Celebrini, I am locking that pick into San Jose on the simulator. And the Sharks did have the worst record. The Blackhawks are up next. They're in a bit of a tough spot here. I think they need a defenseman more than a goalie. Tracy Porter has them going with Ivan Demidov. Ivan Demidov had 5 goals in a game in the MHL. He's under contract with SKA St. Petersburg until the end of the 2025 season, so he wouldn't be in the NHL until next year. Artyom Lashunov has a chance to get on the NHL this year, but he's most likely returning to Michigan State. And there's a lot of mock drafts split between Lashunov and Demidov. I don't even think Lashunov's the best defenseman in the draft. I know this is going to be a hot take, but I think Anton Silyev's better. I think his tape is better personally. Lashunov looked very sloppy in the college hockey tournament. Western Michigan scored 4 times on Michigan State. Michigan scored 5 times on Michigan State. I think, Lashunov had the game-winning goal in overtime to beat Western Michigan 5-4. But Western Michigan led that game 4-2 after 2 periods. They should not have let Michigan State back in that game at any point. And Demidov, I just think Demidov's a more complete player than Lashunov. And the Blackhawks are going to want to get a Patrick Kane to Bedard's Taves. They're going to go Demidov. And the fact that Tracy Porter's talking about Demidov, I think Demidov's locked into the Blackhawks at 2. And if there's a team you want to comment on or pick for, let me know, Joey, because after the Blackhawks pick at 2, the Anaheim Ducks pick at 3, and then the Columbus Blue Jackets pick at 4. But I am going to lock Demidov into Chicago, unless you want to make a case for Lashunov here at 2. All right, Anaheim Ducks. I'm going to go with Lashunov at 3. He does have top pairing NHL upside. I do think he needs another year to develop in the NCAA. And with him having a 1-year curve and the rest of these defensemen having a 2-year developmental window, I think Lashunov's the first defenseman off the board. Does that mean he'll have the best career? Not necessarily, but I think he's the first defenseman off the board here. Number 4 is Columbus. There are a lot of Blue Jackets fans saying center. I don't necessarily believe they go that route. I think Anton Silyev is the route the Blue Jackets go in. He interviewed with Columbus. He said that Columbus has shown a lot of interest in him. And for me, Silyev is my player comp for Anton Silyev, 6'7", 220 is Zdeno Chara. First-line defenseman on Torpedo in Russia. And he's under contract with this KHL team for 2 more years, but he's a first-line defenseman on that team. I think Anton Silyev is the pick here for Columbus at 4. I mean, you could argue that Caden Lindstrom, 6'4" center, or Berkeley Catan, who had 111 points with the Spokane Chiefs, number 1 pick in the 2021 WHL draft after Connor Bedard in 2020 WHL draft. You can argue one of those guys. You can argue Konsta Helenius out of Finland, but I like Silyev for Columbus. I think you can make an argument for Silyev at number 2 behind Macklin Celebrini. And I know you're getting Denton Mateychuk next year. Mateychuk's got the Moose Jaw Warriors in the championship of the WHL this year. I like Anton Silyev here, Joey. I think Silyev is the pick for Columbus at 4. Montreal's in an interesting spot. And I'm going to talk about the players, the defensemen they have in the NHL right now. So far, the Montreal Canadiens have the following defensemen in the NHL. Caden Gould, 2020 first-round pick. They traded Arturi Lekonen to Colorado for Justin Barron, the Avalanche's 2020 first-round pick. Logan Malou, 2021 first-round pick, is in the NHL. Just trying to think. Who is that defenseman on the... Who's that defenseman? Montreal Canadiens drafted him in the 2nd round. Lane Hudson. Lane Hudson's in the NHL now. Lane Hudson, they had 2022 2nd-round pick. I had a 1st-round grade on Lane Hudson. He signed his NHL contract. Kent Hughes went to the Frozen Four, got him to sign his contract upon Boston U getting eliminated. Oh, and David Reinbacher, who they drafted 5th overall, is going to be competing for a roster spot in the NHL next year, Joey. So the Canadiens are going to have as many as 5 defensemen that they've drafted in the NHL next year. They could have as many as 5. So, and Caden Primo, their goalie, was hot down the stretch. So if he cannot win with those young defensemen and Fowler dominates, I think we will see Jacob Fowler in the NHL sooner rather than later because of the fact that he's going to a situation where his supporting cast is going to be really, really good. But that's why I would get a second-line center. You could get a defenseman at 5 to round out that group, but I also think defense center is a bigger need. You don't really have an established second-line center behind Nick Suzuki. You really don't. I mean, Montreal, they have Nick Suzuki. They have Alex Newhook, a Avalanche 2017 first-round pick, as their number 2 center. You have Jake Evans and Christian Dvorak. How did Newhook do in his first year with the Canadiens? 15 goals, 19 assists, 34 points. If he had gotten 40 points, you could keep him on the second line. But I honestly think Newhook's more of a third-line center at this point, Joey. He had his opportunity on the top 6, something he really didn't get in Colorado with all their depth at center. And it really doesn't feel like he sees that opportunity. I do like Newhook as a third-line center, but there are guys at number 6 that have more upside than him long-term. And number 5, actually. So, I mean, I'm going Caden Lindstrom here. I mean, there are people, the scouting report for Lindstrom is big, strong, power forward with excellent offensive skills. Dangerous and close. IQ is a question. He missed 3 months with an injury. I don't think the IQ is a question. Ash Glover, a scout on Medicine Hat, who I've talked football with, has told me Lindstrom's going to be special. I trust his information. I trust his intel. I think Montreal goes Caden Lindstrom, but they could go Berkeley Catan, 111 points. They could go Consta Hellenus. They could go at Tija Ginla, Jerome Ginla's son, who's gained a lot of traction in the pre-draft process. And we've seen the Canadians reach on players at 5 the last 2 drafts, Joey. I mean, they took Jarav Slavkovsky, the left winger, number 1 overall over Shane Wright in 2022, who actually did well down the stretch. And they took Reinbacher last year in a forward-heavy draft. We've seen Kent Hughes reach for guys in the NHL draft in his 2 years as GM. He could take Ginla's son, who's ranked 17th on this board, but has moved all the way up to number 9 in a lot of mock drafts for playing hot down the stretch. So we could see Kent Hughes reach for the 3rd year in a row at this position. I am going Caden Lindstrom, but I'm just throwing out the possibility that we see Montreal reach in the first round under Kent Hughes in terms of value for the 3rd year in a row. Because it could happen. It could very easily happen if the Canadians fall in love with Tija Ginla, the son of Jerome Ginla. So I am going Caden Lindstrom here. Medicine Hat Center. Phoenix, they need defense. Sam Dickinson has the London Knights in the OHL finals. So we're going to go with Dickinson, Coyotes at 6. They need Ottawa needs another center. They don't have any depth at center if their 2 best centers, Tim Stützle and Josh Norris, get injured. They don't have any depth at center. They got to get a center so they can avoid that situation. He's Berkeley Catan, over 100 points, very skilled, creative playmaking center, dangerous in one-on-one, exceptional puck control, solid shooter. There's a lot of people saying a player going to. I don't want to go back to the draft, but I do want to see number 8. It's weird because the simulator. Yeah, so I'm going to have to load up my NHL draft board on Tankathon here because the The simulator is only showing me 1 through 7. So Seattle has number 8. We're going to give Seattle Zane Pareja. He's a offensive defenseman, over 90 points. Feels like the right player for the Kraken at 8. And for everybody watching our NHL Draft Simulator on the live stream, it is not letting me zoom out after the first 7 picks. It is not letting me zoom out or zoom in further. So you're only going to get to see the first 7 picks on the live stream, unfortunately. So, yeah, the simulator's just being a prick. I could simulate... Calgary, I am going to give Calgary Tija Ginla. Tija Ginla, he is the Tija Ginla is the son of Jerome Ginla. I am giving Calgary Tija Ginla at number 9, and then number 10, New Jersey Devils. What are the Devils going to do? I'm going to go Konsta Helenius, the center from Jukurit in Sweden. Zeebuiam does belong in the top 10. He does, but he falls to 11 because he has an 05 birth date. He led Denver to 2 wins over Boston U and Boston College to help Denver win the championship. So Zeebuiam does belong in the top 10. He's there at 11. Buffalo picks him at 11, and they get him with that selection. Trevor Connolly of the Tri-City Storm goes to the Philadelphia Flyers at 12. And for anybody wondering, yeah, so teams on the simulator. So by clicking on all teams, or if we go to all teams, we only get the top 7. Oh, never mind. Apparently the simulator has decided to actually scroll down a few picks. That's great. Okay, number 13 is the Minnesota Wild. Wild have a tough decision here because there's a lot of good wingers on the board, but I think Carter Yakemchuk, a defenseman for the Calgary Hitmen, is the Wild's pick. Alex Goligoski, their third-line defenseman, is a UFA. I think the Wild take a defenseman here after Jared Spurgeon missed all of the season as a team captain for the Wild. They lost Matthew Dumba. Jonas Broden's getting a little bit older. I think Carter Yakemchuk is the pick here for Minnesota at 13. Okay, and now I've got San Jose's pick at 14 on the live stream. They get Cole Yzerman. Cole Yzerman was the number 2 player behind Macklin Celebrini in the preseason. Why is he dropped to 14, Joey? Well, it's very simple. He fumbled the puck 4 times in one hockey game. Even though he broke Cole Caulfield's record for goals on Team USA, his effort level has been inconsistent. Bob McKenzie dropped him all the way from 2 in the preseason to 13 in his latest rankings prior to the NHL draft. That should say something. So the San Jose Sharks used this first-round pick they got from the Pittsburgh Penguins to gamble on Cole Yzerman. And they give Macklin Celebrini a top-line left winger. And, you have Macklin Celebrini, you have Cole Yzerman, and you have William Eklund, your 2021 first-round pick. That is your top line in San Jose. And it's a really good top line to have. Because at this point, if you're San Jose, you can gamble on Yzerman. And it's not a terrible pick. Now, if you take Yzerman at 4 or 5 with the issues he's had this year, you're going to get some question marks. But if you take him here, it's actually really good value. So Yzerman's coming off the board here. The Red Wings, the Red Wings are in a tough spot at 5. I'm going to go with Emil Hemming, I'm going to go with Emil Hemming, PS winger. Hemming 16, 15. I don't even, I'm going to look at my notes here because I don't even remember who I gave the Red Wings in my revised mock for round 1. Is possible here. Through many picks possible. Land
as number one WHL draft. But yeah, it's just here. So I gave the a on the winner skill, and he has over 100 points. Skilled offensive winger, excellent hands and ability to dangle, playmaker. Still go with Beckett Seneke to the Red Wings at 15. So the Red Wings do get Beckett Seneke at 15. And it's number 16. The Blues are up. They need a winger. They need an offensive defenseman, but they also need a winger. I'm gonna go with Emil Hemming, a goal-scoring winger on TPS, protection and smarts, skates well, work needed defensively. But he's the 14th best player in the draft despite the work needed defensively in his scouting report. All right, I'm going to go Emil Hemming. The Capitals, I feel like the Capitals need defense more than offense, personally. I mean, that you could get another winger, but the thing is, the Capitals, Ryan Leonard, the Boston, say 8th overall. Then they got Andrew Chris, the top 11 in the second round last year. And the Capitals really don't have any good defensemen next to John Carlson. Big up by the Rangers, Joey. Let's be real. So, I mean, that's the thing. I'm looking at the Capitals. They need a defenseman. I think Alec is probably the younger brother of probably the best pick for the Capitals. Calm, cool, and solid offensively, needs to get stronger. 6'2", 168 pounds. When they say he needs to get stronger, they want him in that 188 weight. Basically, what the scouts mean when they say this guy needs to get stronger, because he's only 6'2", 168 at the moment. So, confused by that. That is what they mean by needs to get stronger. But yeah, makes Capitals here at 17. Islanders, we're going to give the Islanders Liam Greentree. He is the team. Wait, I'm making sure I gave I'm making sure I gave the Capitals the right player. Yes, I did. Adam Jiricek's who I gave the Capitals. And the Islanders are getting Liam Greentree. So far, no major screw-ups on my end. Liam Greentree's the team captain of the Windsor Spitfires. Had 2 goals in the CHL game. Big, strong offensive forward with leadership quality. Strong shot, needs to get more physical. 6'2", 198. Power forward. Vegas? Well, Vegas loses Jonathan Marchensalt, their right winger who led the team in points, to free agency. They also lose Alec Martinez, their number 2 defenseman, behind Alex Pietrangelo, to free agency. So we're going to go with Cole Hudson, the younger brother of Lane Hudson. I know that size at 5'10", 159 kind of scares you, but, you know, he was the number 1 defender on the U.S. national team, just like his older brother Lane Hudson. And Lane Hudson had a big year at Boston U with Macklin Celebrini, Joey. So, you know, Cole Hudson's going there to take over. You know, I think Cole Hudson's a good fit for the Vegas Golden Knights here at 19. And the Vegas Golden Knights do not have a 2025 or 2026 first-round pick, but they host the NHL Draft in the Sphere this year in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Have you seen the sphere, Joey, in Las Vegas during the Super Bowl? Did you see that sphere outside of Allegiant Stadium? Please tell me you have the sphere in Las Vegas. That big sphere. That sphere outdoors in Las Vegas during the Super Bowl. Did you see that? But it's a big, the NHL draft, not only is it going to be held inside the sphere, they're going to televise the draft live outside of the sphere too. This is going to be the first draft that does that in the history of the NHL, which is pretty cool. But, you know, they had a bunch of SpongeBob promos at the Sphere in Las Vegas last year for the Super Bowl, and they had some other promos for the Sphere during Super Bowl 58 between the Niners and Chiefs on CBS. They had some promos for the Sphere during the Super Bowl. You might not remember specifically what those were, but Sphere is pretty popular in Las Vegas. I think Cole Hudson, despite his size, is the best defender on the board. Blackhawks at 20. This is not what my mock draft is going to look like on the site because I'm going to be using a different draft order than the one that Draft Prospects Hockey has assigned everybody. But the Blackhawks at 20, they're going to get Tanner Howe. Tanner Howe, small but sturdy and tenacious, plays physical, goes hard to the net, smart, not elite offensively. Well, Tanner Howe had 77 points for the Regina Pats. He was the alternate captain when Connor Bedard was there, and he took over as captain after Connor Bedard left. Now he's reunited with Connor Bedard in Chicago, as Tanner Howe is the pick for the Blackhawks at number 20 in this mock draft. LA Kings at 21, they go best player on the board. They go with Michael Hage here. Michael Hage, really good value here. Youngest player on the board. And like I said, really good value for the Kings at 21. Igor Chernisov, left winger from Dynamo Moskva in the MHL. First line left winger in the KHL. Nashville loves Russians. Igor Chernisov would be a great player to develop under Philippe Forsberg at left winger. You already have a superstar left winger in Forsberg. You get Chernisov here at 22. Toronto, they get Henry Muse. Versatile, smart offensive defenseman. Tremendous passer. Defensively, there is developmental needs. Toronto does need more depth on the blue line. So they get Henry Muse here. And then we get to Anaheim. Anaheim needs wingers. Michael Brandsegg-Nygaard, high compete forward, generates changes off effort, strong forecheck IQ and grit, has 4 stars, big star, physical star, grinder star, two-way star. Those stars are like strengths or superpowers. So he has 4 superpowers. And he comes off the board at 24. Really good value pick for the Ducks. The Avalanche get a left winger. They get Andrew Basha, the left winger on the Medicine Hat Tigers, as a insurance play in case Gabriel Landeskog cannot recover from his injury. Ottawa gets another center for depth, but they can stash this center in college and let him develop. Sacha Boisvert, the Muskegon Lumberjacks center. They're going to get a defenseman here. They're going to get Aaron Kiviharju. Aaron Kiviharju was the top defender and top player in Finland as a 13-year-old. He defends well. He's a good two-way defender, but his size is a concern. 5'10", 165 pounds. His size is a concern at the NHL level. He's going to have to gain at least 15 pounds of muscle, maybe 25. At 5'10", 165. That is, Kiviharju, he's going to have to put on some muscle and improve in that respect. But, the talent's there. He's a player Montreal can gamble on at 27 to be their number 6 defender and third-line defender of the future. Carolina, they're going to go with Thomas Lavoie.
Thomas Lavoie, he was the number 1 pick in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League draft. 6'4", 225, big, strong, physical two-way blue liner, plays with a mean edge. Skating and puck skills need development, but he was the number 1 pick in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League draft. I have no problem with gambling on him at 28. So, Calgary at 29, they're going to get Maxim Massey. Saguenay's crafty, intelligent offensive forward, shot is powerful and deadly, bad skater, inconsistent overall play, had over 100 points though. So he's going to be the pick for Calgary at 29. Philadelphia, they're going to get a 100-point player. Tarek Parasak, solid scoring winger, a darting skater, drives the net, a shooting threat from any angle, not overly creative, but over 100 points in the WHL. He's going to be the pick for the Flyers at 30. And the Flyers own this pick from the Florida Panthers. Calgary owns this pick from Vancouver at 29 in the Elias Lindholm trade. Number 30, the Dallas Stars are up here at 31. I'm giving the Dallas Stars Alphonse Frage. Elite skating ability, offensive instincts for the puck move, for this puck-moving defenseman. Defensive play needs refinement, but here's the thing. I don't think he needs as much refinement as the scouting report says. I watched Alphonse Frage. I could see why Swedish scouts have him ranked in the 20 to 30 range. Frage is a guy who can block shots. He can steal the puck. He can knock you on your ass. He's 6'1", 192. He does pretty much everything you want a two-way defenseman to do. So, and he's an elite skater, so he should come off the board here. The Vaxjo Lakers are the best regular season record in Sweden, too. Alphonse Frage makes a lot of sense for Dallas at 31, considering Nils Lundqvist has not played in the playoffs, and Dallas needs to draft another defenseman here with their 5 defensemen. So Alphonse Frage is the pick. The New York Rangers make a pick here at 32, and the Rangers are going to select Dean Letourneau from St. Andrews College. 6'7", 209, monster-sized power forward, uses his strength and reach well, but he is very raw in terms of development. And yeah, he scored a goal in the game I watched, but he was like a power forward attacking the net. And yes, he is very raw in that respect. So Dean Letourneau is the pick for the Rangers here. And, the Sharks are up. Nikita Artemonov, slippery, savvy, skilled forward, highly intelligent positional player, accurate shooter, not physical. So the only weakness with Artemonov is he's not physical. But he is a playmaker, and, he's the best player on the board in round 2. I'm going to try to get through as many of the picks as possible before we will stop before 3 p.m. I'm just saying, we'll stop. I want to try to get through as many of the picks that have write-ups listed. And this is the thing with the Sharks. They need wingers, they need defensemen, they need a goalie. There's not a goalie on the board before the 3rd round. But I'm looking at Nikita Artemonov. I'm seeing where he's ranked. I'm seeing what he did in terms of point totals to try to determine if this warrants a 2nd-round pick at 33. It's a big pick for San Jose. You got 3 players with 1st-round grades in the simulator still on the board at 33, and you landed the preseason number 1 player, Macklin Celebrini, and the preseason number 2 player, Cole Iserman, at 14. So really good start to this draft by San Jose. And only question is, can you do that here in the 2nd round? That's the big question. And wow, 7 goals, 16 assists, 23 points in 54 games. He is going back to the KHL. One scouting service has this guy ranked as high as 10. And he's versatile enough left wing and right wing. So yeah, Artemonov is going to be the pick here for San Jose at 33. I'm not overthinking this. Chicago,
I'm not giving Chicago a defenseman yet. Charlie Ellick, big body defenseman, blue liner, has excellent reach, shuts down attackers, low ceiling, high floor player. I hate that. Low ceiling, high floor player. That means he will come in, make an impact as a third, second line defenseman. Probably not a first line defenseman in the NHL, which is what Chicago needs. Will Skenes, big, powerful, defensive minded defender, physical, intimidating, skates well, IQ is questionable. Do either of those players make you comfortable here with Chicago at 34, a team that needs a first line defenseman? Because I'm going to be honest, neither of those players are great values picks here, but you have to pick one of them because they're the two best players on the board. And I just think it's interesting that these are the two. So 14 points on the national team developmental program against kids his own age and 6 points against men in 24 games. And he's going to Boston College to develop. Will Skenes, 6'4", 212. Charlie Ellick, 6'3", and 198. Ellick's interesting because Ellick only had 4 goals, 23 assists, and 27 points. So those are not great numbers for the Blackhawks here. And they already have 2 goalies. So they're not really in the market for a goalie. But I am going through this. I am trying to figure out, okay, where, as far as the Brandon Wheat Kings go, where are their guys ranked? Was this guy, Charlie Ellick, a first, second, or third line defenseman? Because I think Will Skenes was a first line defenseman on Team USA, but his numbers aren't great. Neither player's production is great. And that's the big thing, is you have 2 first-round players still on the board, and neither one is great production. But it's 34. I should just make a damn pick here, but it's like I can't decide between these two. Do I take the bigger defenseman with less points? Okay, so Charlie Ellick was a second-line defenseman. Will Skenes was a first-line defenseman, but his IQ is questionable. But he has 3 both defensemen have 3 positives. I'm going to go with Will Skenes here for the Blackhawks. I don't know if it's the right pick, but Ellick's a second-line defenseman, and this is really where I look at where now the third defenseman I could pick here, Leo Salin Wallenius from Sweden. Smart two-way defender, nothing elite, good passer, makes an impact on both sides of the ice. So, Joey, you got 3 defensemen to choose from. Defenseman A, Ellick, low ceiling, high floor player. Second line defenseman on his junior hockey team in Canada. Defenseman 2, 6'4", 212, a first line defenseman on the Team USA, but his IQ is questionable. Defenseman 3, smart two-way defender, nothing elite, good passer, makes an impact on both sides of the ice. Of those 3 reports, what's the best report? Because I have not done a deep dive in this draft past the first round. And at this point, I'm just having fun with this. Of those 3 scouting reports, which of those 3 sounds the best? I'm guessing the third one, but it's not, you're not very confident in that assessment since hockey's not really your department when it comes to mock drafts. It's more my department, but it's like, I can't decide. So I'm asking you for some input here on this pick because I'm having a tough time making it. So the big, powerful, defensive-minded defender, physical and intimidating, skates well, IQ is questionable, but he's going to Boston College, so that'll get cleaned up there. And size at 6'4", 212, and the experience in the first line, I think that puts him over the top. Anaheim Ducks, this is saying the Ducks need a goalie, but there's not a goalie on the board worth taking here. And the Ducks, they do have some stability. They need wingers. I mean, Matevi Grindin, highly skilled offensive winger, elite puck handler and passer. Skating needs work, not physical. He's going to college, so you don't have to rush him up to the NHL. But I want to see what he did with Muskegon before I lock that in as the pick. Because it is a big pick here. Okay. He had 38 goals, 45 assists, and 83 points in 60 games. So he had 83 points in 60 games. His skating needs work, and he's not physical, but he can develop those parts of his game at college, and he's going to Michigan. So Michigan will get that out of him. You know, Michigan will get that physicality and skating that needs work out of him. The other player, Ryder Ritchie, the Prince Albert Raiders, solid scoring and playmaker winger, moves well on the ice, non-existent physical play. When you hear the words non-existent, you begin to scratch a rusty nail against the chalkboard, because when you're drafting a player in the first 2 rounds, you never want to hear the words non-physical play. Like, if I'm breaking down an NFL prospect that I mention non-existent physical play, yeah, that's because if he doesn't play physical right now, you can coach him up to play physical later. But if you say the physical play is non-existent, then it's like, okay, this might be a deal breaker. Ryder Ritchie had 55 points as a rookie in the Western Hockey League last year, 20 goals, 35 assists. This year he had 19 goals, 25 assists, 44 points. He has a nice ability for a third or fourth line winger, but I want to see a little bit more. Christian Humphreys, I think the Ducks need a winger more than anything else. A slick, savvy passing forward, versatile enough to play left wing, center, right wing, high IQ, small. I'm not going to go with him for the Ducks. I do like his profile, though, but I feel like the Ducks need a winger more. Teddy Steiga, smaller but solid offensive winger, inconsistent defensive effort. Marek Vanaker, a gritty, hardworking 200-foot winger, has a strong shot, not overly creative or a play driver offensively. Yeah, a lot of these reports are not good. William Zellers, I will look at him now. Well, William Zellers had 57 goals, 54 assists, 111 points at Shattuck St. Mary's Prep High School. He's listed at 85 on the board, but if you can find a player with 100 points in the second round of the NHL draft, you need to pull the trigger and pick them, because that's just hard to find. And he's going to North Dakota, one of the better hockey schools. So I am going with William Zellers here for the Ducks. And Christian Humphreys is going to be the pick for the Flyers at 37 or 36. So Winnipeg's up at 37. Winnipeg traded their first round pick away, but they do own a second round pick right here. Winnipeg needs defense. Even if they do, let's be real, Joey. Winnipeg needs defense, because Winnipeg, I've said this for a few years now on the podcast, they have a top 5 goalie in Hellebuyck, but his 2 best defensemen are Josh Morrissey and Neil Pionk. And Morrissey, I get it. He had 69 points. He had a good regular season. 10 goals, 59 assists, 69 points. He had a good regular season, but These guys don't defend well in the playoffs. Pionk and Morrissey are liabilities in the playoffs. And honestly, the Winnipeg Jets have to upgrade in that respect. They have to upgrade. I like Leo Solin-Wallen, a smart two-way defender, nothing elite, good passer, makes an impact on both sides. I do like his value here. Charlie Ellick, I do think he could help Winnipeg on the second or third line. Dominic Badinka, smooth skating two-way defender, likes to move the puck, plays hard in own zone, shot needs work. But he can pass the puck well. Yeah, I'm looking up Badinka right now to see what we have here with the Malmo Redhawks defenseman. 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points. He's ranked as the number 14th European skater. Bob McKenzie has him at 42. Dober Prospects and McKean's Hockey and FC Hockey all have a first-round grade on Dominic Badinka. 6'3", 183. Colton Roberts, big, strong two-way defender, hard to play against defensively, physical, limited offensively. So, I mean, honestly, Charlie Alick has excellent reach, shuts down attackers, low ceiling, high floor player. At this point, I feel like you just have to go with the best player on the board. Even if Charlie Alick ends up being a second or third line defenseman, there's just not many guys that are going to be top line defensemen outside of Will Skahan. There's just not, unless I can find someone. I'll look up Colton Roberts. I'll look up Chris Dorfo. I'll look up the Twitter handles for those two to see if there's a guy who has first line experience. Because it's like, yeah, this is a point in the draft where you should have an idea of what you're going to do here. Yeah, Colton Roberts was not a first-line defenseman. He's a second-line guy. What about Anthony Cristorfo of the Windsor Spitfires? Because right now I'm looking for a player that has experience in the first line, that actually is a good fit for what Winnipeg needs here. I could go with the high floor, low ceiling player, but I already feel like Winnipeg has two defenders in that respect in Josh Morrissey and Neil Pionk. I want a defender that's an upgrade over those two in terms of upside if I'm Winnipeg here, because I honestly think that's the biggest need for the Jets. And you'd think there'd be at least one player of that caliber on the board. So it's like, you'd think there would at least be one player that fits that criteria. So that's basically what I'm looking for. Okay, so Cristorfo is the number 1 defenseman on Windsor. Let's read his profile. Defensive-minded game. Not much physicality, little defense. When I read the words "not much physicality, little defense," Joey is making an oof reaction in the background. He's like, yeah, we're not picking him. Chris, I swear to God, if you pick him here, you are setting Winnipeg back. And let's look at Christorfo's numbers before we rule that out, because yeah, not much physicality, little defense. That's not what you want to see if you're doing these profiles. But yeah, what is Christorfo's? 7 goals, 31 assists, 38 points. That's it. Yeah. If he had like 50 points, I could live with that little effort on defense, but no, not here. Let's see if Adam Kleber of the Lincoln Stars. Um, you know, I'm just gonna go with Alec because this is just a bad. I'll go with Leo Sol and Wallace because I think at least he has upside. He's not elite in any category, but I feel like his ceiling is probably higher than Charlie Ellick's. So I'm going to go with Leo Solin Wallace. The Coyotes have 38. I'm just going to give the Coyotes the best player on the board. I'm going to go with Ellick because Coyotes relocated to Utah, so I'm just going to give them the best player on the board at 38, Charlie Ellick. Ottawa, they do need a power forward type right winger. Matvei Grindin. Is Matvei Grindin a player? Is this a player for Ottawa to consider here? Only 2 picks Dallas has left are in the 5th and 7th round. But yeah, Matvei Grindin, 83 points. His skating weight needs work. He's not physical. He can go to college and develop. The Kraken, we're going to go Ryder Ritchie. Because the non-existent physical play and defense. I don't like hearing that. But, the Kraken need wingers and defensemen. We already gave them so I am going to go Ryder Ritchie here. You can develop him. I'm going to go with Badinka for Calgary here at 41. That just feels like a classic Flames pick. I'm going to go with Teddy Stiga here. Inconsistent defensive effort, but he's a solid offensive winger. He gets the right spots. He can be your second-line winger in San Jose. Second-line left winger that you can develop for the long haul. John Mustard, Jet Luchenko, all good value picks for Buffalo here at 43. Yeah, there's a player in this year's NHL draft named John Mustard. His last name is Mustard. He had 117 points in high school in 65 games. He also had 29 goals, 27 assists, 56 points in 60 USHL games. Nothing elite offensively. I think he's got second or third line potential at center, and Buffalo can develop him while he's at Providence. So I do like the fit for John Mustard. Penguins at 44. Jet Luchenko, a 200-foot game, smaller forward, uses speed well to back off defenders, high-level passing ability and high Q. Not only is that the best player on the board, that's the best profile I've read in a few picks, Joey. So I am going to go Jet Luchenko to the Penguins here. That's probably the best profile I've read at least 10 picks. And the Penguins also have 46. The Wild, they need a goal-scoring center. Cole Beaudoin. Cole Beaudoin's interesting. Big and powerful forward, skates well, likes to disrupt, works hard, nothing elite offensively. He had 62 points in 67 games, which is decent. He's a grinder type center that can play defense well. Luke Misa, the older brother of Michael Misa, a small playmaking center, dynamic speed, passing and vision are excellent. Shot and physicality, not so much. But yeah, Beaudoin,
you want the guy who's not elite offensively, or do you want the guy whose shot and physicality needs work? I mean, they're both. I'm gonna go with Beaudoin for. I'm gonna go with Beaudoin for the Wild, and then the Penguins. They could go center here. They could also go defense. Boilard is a third line player. Sam O'Reilly. A lot of these guys left at the board are third line guys. I do like Luke Misa here, the older brother of Michael Misa. Penguins do have a good goalie in their farm system, so they're not going to draft a goalie. Okay, Luke Misa had 81 points, but he only had 26 goals compared to his 55 assists. So Luke Misa, the Penguins at 46. The Red Wings, we're going to go Vitaly Vasanen, a defenseman for Kuku in Liga. I can't even read his scouting report unless I scroll to the defenseman, but the Blues, Daniel Ustinkov. Okay, his last name's Ustinkov. Brody Zeimer. Ustinkov, solid two-way defender, has good hands and puck skills, makes skilled passes, defense needs work. So, defense isn't a liability, it just like needs work. ZSC is where Austin Matthews played in Switzerland. I am going to go this route here for the Blues. They do need defense. Igor Surin's a player I really do like. He can take over a game. He's like a big ball of energy. Thomas Galvis, smart, creative offensive defenseman, needs to get much stronger. Only 5'10", 148. But he's the best player on the board. And the Coyotes need bodies in the blue line. They do. Let's be real. That's really the biggest. That's basically most of the second round this year. That's the round we're covering on Talk Shoe in 6 weeks from today. That's basically what most of the scouting reports say for the round 2 players this year. It's arguably a better first round than last year, but from what I'm reading, I can see why a lot of people think this is a weaker NHL draft, because you try to get guys who are good offensively, good defensively, and good skaters in the second round, but there isn't that this year. There isn't. You're either getting a guy who's elite offensively, elite defensively, but a project offensively, or a project as far as skating goes. You're not going to get a guy who checks off all 3 boxes in the second round. That is the reality, unfortunately. One was like this, but at least they have a few guys in the NHL. 2021 was like this. We're going to go Alexander Zetterberg of Arebro HK for the Islanders here at 50. Flyers, I'm going to go Igor Surin. He is a skilled offensive forward, elite puck protection, likes to score almost as much as hitting players. He is a bit of a psychopath. That's the write-up for Igor Surin, and he is a player I actually considered for Dallas at. He is a bit of a psycho, and he has 5 stars next to him. Big, physical, playmaker, two-way, power forward. I think he's ranked too low at 52, to be honest. I think 52 is way too low for him. I was considering him for Dallas at 31. I was. If all the defensemen were off the board, I was going to pick him for Dallas at 31, because I think Surin.
Yeah, we want players that have a little bit of psycho in them. Not too much psycho, but a little bit, yes. There's other games, though, where the only thing is he doesn't have top-end speed. He's a good skater, but doesn't have top-end speed. And there's games where he does nothing. He's invisible. And then there's games where he takes over the game. That's really the big knock on Surin. But I do think Surin does have a first to second round grade. He needs to come off the board here. One of the better write-ups for round 2. When coming up with my mock draft last week, I was about as frustrated as you were when making the picks. I was, because I'm like, where's the guy who checks off the boxes? Surin is one of those guys here in the second round that's a really good value pick that I could. Capitals. There's not a defenseman on the board worth taking here. McKay's hardworking, gritty winger, not overly skilled, gets in opponents' faces and under their skin. He's listed at 63 on the board, but at this point, I will take that. Oh yeah, Colton Roberts. I'm gonna go Chris Storfo though. The Capitals, they need defense. I'm gonna go Chris Storfo of Windsor. Colton Roberts, Adam Kleber. But I do really like the write-up for Mikel Marquez. Hardworking, gritty winger, not overly skilled, gets in opponents' faces and under their skin. It's not as good as the Igor Surin write-up, Joey, but you could argue that write-up is better than half of the write-ups I read. It's like, I'll take that at this point at 53. Hardworking, gritty winger, not overly skilled, gets in opponents' faces and under their skin. At this point, I'll take that. You may end up getting a bottom 6 player instead of a top 6 player, but if that's his mindset, I'll take that at this point in the draft. Yep. Blackhawks, they do need versatile do-it-all forward, physical, scores, handles the puck, makes good passes, skating needs work. No. Sam O'Reilly, London Knights, a chippy 200-foot player, plays with speed and aggressiveness, hard forechecker, goes to the hard areas. Yes. Yeah, it's like, I let him slip to 54. I'm going to get roasted for that because that's a player. The Blackhawks, he could be the Blackhawks' fourth-line center down the road. Now, you're going to have Connor Bedard, Frank Nazar, and Oliver Moore in the top 3 lines, but Riley could be the Blackhawks' number 4 center down the road if you're patient with him and you develop him. And at the very worst, he's a high-end AHL player on the Rockford Ice Hogs. So, yeah, I'll go Sam O'Reilly here. Nashville, I feel like Nashville does need a top 6 center. Boylard is a third-line center at best. Brody Zimmer, his skating needs work, but he's going to college. But I already drafted a right winger. I'm going to go with Boylard or Clark. Yeah, let's go with Boylard here. The Predators can draft Boylard. They can gamble on him at this point in the second round. The Blues at 56. We're going to go with Brody Zimmer of the U.S. National Team Developmental Program. Edmonton makes their first pick at 57. Reliable two-way center, intense player on the forecheck, back check, and in corners. No elite traits with Peterson, though. But at this point, I will take an intense player if I'm the Oilers. I got to do something to get Connor McDavid over the hump. Clark Caswell, high character, high effort, versatile two-way forward, solid playmaker, limited offensive upside. Let's see what his let's see what his WHL stats are. Limited offensive upside. 26 goals, 51 assists, 77 points in 68 games. I wouldn't say that's limited upside, Joey. They're just trying to drive his value down. That's good value at this point in round 2. We're going to go Clark Caswell here for the Oilers at 57. And Montreal, Lucas Peterson, no elite offense for Lucas Peterson, but he's a reliable two-way center, good forechecker for Moto Hockey. The Ducks, Justin Poirier,
Terrence Smith, the Everett Silvertips, smooth skating defender, solid passer, strong shot, not very physical, needs to get stronger. 6'1", 176. 176 pounds is better than some of these 150, 140 pound defensemen. At 59, I'll take Terrence Smith at this point if I'm the Ducks. He's teammates with Olin Zellweger, who's now on the Anaheim Ducks. Makes a lot of sense to pick him here. Adam Kleber, he uses his body and stick effectively, skates with a heavy stride. Yeah, that's a player we're picking for Nashville at 60. Carolina, they need bodies on the defense. Colton Roberts is the pick. Blackhawks at 61. Daniel Niemanen from the Pelicans. Solid all-around defender, excellent skater, makes an impact at both ends, needs to add strength. He's 6'1", 176. Yeah, that's a player I would pick at this point if I'm Chicago. It's second round. That's a good value at this point. Justin Poirier, Bay Camo Dracar, pint-sized goal-scoring winger. Shot is accurate and powerful. No defensive game to speak of. And the height is 5'8", 181. So 5'8", 181. That's why the pint-sized goal-scoring winger. But he is terrible defensively. I'm not sure you pick him here. You might let him work to the fourth round. Simon Zether, big two-way winger, not overly elite, skates well, works hard, wins puck battles, weaker shot. Nathan Velo, smaller power forward, plays with a chippy edge, goes to the dirty areas, limited offense. Some of these scouting reports where they say limited offense, the player has like 70 points in the OHL, and you find out the limited offense is bullshit. And at this point in the draft, you're hoping it's bullshit, so you get a better player and a better value pick. But the limited offense is not bullshit here. 23 goals, 27 assists, 50 points. That's limited offense, 50 points in 56 games. Offensive-minded winger with ugly skating stride. Carter George, the top goalie in the NHL draft. He's ranked 66 on the board. Coyotes do need a goalie at 63. They did draft Michael Hrabal last year in the second round. Let's take a look at Michael Hrabal's development. And if it's not good, we'll consider a goalie here for the Coyotes. Michael Hrabal had a .912 save percentage at UMass. Big reason UMass got as far as they did. So let's stick with him. Yeah, so we'll stick. I don't think the Coyotes need a goalie. We're going to go with Poirier. Because I remember Justin Poirier of the Bay Camo Dracar. It's not a good Justin Poirier. It doesn't look like a good draft for round 2 right now. 51 goals, 31 assists, 82 points. So very good offensively, but probably going to get an AHL player with that height at 5'8", 181. Calgary, Simon Zether. He has a weaker shot, but, I could see Calgary getting him. Simon Zether at 64. Seattle, they're going to get Nathan Villeneuve, Sudbury Wolves, to start round 3. Yeah, and yes, Seattle does own the Sharks' third round pick. The Anaheim Ducks, do they take the first goalie off the board? They have Jonas. They have that goalie. The Ducks do, John Gibson. I don't know. There were rumors about John Gibson getting traded. I don't know if John Gibson's going to stay there or what the deal's going to be with him. But John Gibson, he's 30. If John Gibson wants to stay in Anaheim, you keep him there. But, John Gibson's save percentage has declined each of the last 2 years from .904 to .899 to .888. It's just nobody's helping him out. And you have 66 and 68. I'm going to go with Noel Franzen. Ugh, defensive warts, gross. Fleet-footed offensive defenseman, excellent puck skills, has defensive warts. Yeah. The Ducks, John Gibson contract. Let's take a look at the contract for John Gibson because it's not. He signed an 8-year deal, and that contract runs through the 2026-2027 season. So if you draft a goalie now, you will have 4 years to develop him, and then he can start when John Gibson's contract is up in 2027. You know, taking that into consideration, Anaheim probably should take a goalie here. I mean, it's like, John Gibson's had 2 really bad seasons, and it's not that the Ducks have a legitimate long-term goalie. This was a team that I actually mocked a goalie to last year, and they didn't pick one. But, he had, Carter George, 907 save percentage, 330 goals against average in 56 games. Ryderson leaders. This is a goalie. So both these goalies have a goals against average of above 3, but they have save percentages above 912. Last year with Hrabel, with Jacob Fowler had a goals against average of below 3 and a save percentage of above 900. So neither of these goalies is as good as Fowler. Luca Morelli, Oshawa General, solid skating mover, no physicality. Defense will need time. I'm just going to go with Carter George here. Fast and impeccable mechanics, tracks the puck well. Will he grow? 6 foot 161. The Ducks need an answer when John Gibson's contract is up. If you're Columbus, do you draft the number 2 goalie here in the 3rd round to develop behind Elvis Merskalins? That's the big question. It's the 3rd round. You have some have Ryderson Lenders in the 2nd round. So if you're Columbus, do you actually draft the number 2 goalie in the class here? If you're it's interesting. Danil Tarasov and Spencer Martin are the Elvis Merskalins has not asked for a trade, but he and the team agreed that a new scenario is needed. Merskalins has not played since December 29th. He's been a healthy scratch the past 3 games for 3 of the 5 games. Being the number 3 goalie is, and they couldn't find a trade partner for him. Elvis Merskalins. So he wasn't even the backup goalie after being scratched. He was 3rd string. So yeah, Columbus, they are going to need a goalie here. They're going to get Ryderson leaders. Limited offensive upside for Riley Patterson from the Barrie Colts. I'm going to at least see what we have with him in terms of no, I'm not talking about the kicker. I'm talking about the hockey player Riley Patterson. But yeah, Riley Patterson of the Barrie Colts. 29 goals, 33 assists, 62 points. His upside is limited, but he could still be a solid 3rd, 2nd line player. I'm going to go with him. Harrison Branicki. Elite Prospects gave him a 1st round grade. Big mobile 2-way defenseman, good puck skills, hard shot. Defensively, he's soft. It's him or Luca Morelli. I'm going to go with Morelli here. But I am going to go with Branicki at 72 to whoever ended up picking at 72. And Blackhawks got Branicki. Kamil Bednarek, just a strong all-around player. Nothing elite about his game. Strong 5v5 and penalty killer. Kraken don't need a center, though. EJ Emery, strong skating, physical defensive defender. He uses his reach, not much offensive upside to his game. Spencer Gill, big offensive defenseman, needs to improve as a skater. So yeah, Emery and Gill both. I'm going to go with Emery here for the Sounders. I'm going to go with Bednarik for Calgary here. The Devils, Spencer Gill, big offensive-minded defenseman. Henri Ruukkonen, strong, intelligent, hardworking player, natural leader, not a physical player. So he's not physical, but he makes up for it with his hockey IQ, leadership, and work ethic. Okay, the Devils, they could use a player like this on the fourth line. I feel like defense and winger are bigger needs, but okay, at this point in the third round, Stian Solberg, Norway. Physical monster of a defenseman, defends well using his stick and body, offensive upside questions. Buffalo needs more physicality. It's a big reason why they're not a playoff team. Atos Koivu, smart two-way centerman, makes tape-to-tape passes. Not a high-end player, but he's reliable. At this point, at 77, I'll take that. Peter Soroka, skilled playmaking forward, responsible, defensive, intelligent. Size is concerning. He's 5'11", 170. I'm not concerned about the size for a hockey player at that size. I think you're overthinking it with the size. Marek Vanecker, not an overly creative play driver, but the Ducks do need bodies. They get at winger. Jesse Pulkkinen's a guy that I really like. He goes to the Red Wings at 80. Max Plante, he's fast and shifty. He does not play defense for a center. Spencer Gill, he's got to improve as a skater, but there is potential there if he can do that. Let's see what we got here. All right, so the Capitals, Leon McGilly, Max Plante doesn't play defense. Reed struggles with rebounds. I don't want a goalie that struggles with rebounds. Felix Lacerte, we'll go with him for the Capitals. Small and not the best. High-end vision and playmaking. Alexander Blas, Ramuski, Oceanic left winger. We'll go with him. So the Capitals get two more wingers. I know they need defense, but I've already gone defense the first two picks. Smart and dependable. Makes simple offensive plays. Ben Danford, good pick for Calgary here. San Jose, they need a goalie. HPK's Kim Saarinen makes a lot of sense for San Jose. I know he struggles with rebounds, but, you know, he's the third best goalie in the draft. They need a goalie. Garbage one-timer, but he's a strong playmaker, has good puck skills for Columbus. Carson Wetch to Nashville. Yeah, it's not scrolling down. We're at like 80. I don't even know who's on the clock at this point. I've been scrolling down with some of the picks. I'm just going to go Leon McGilly. I'm just going to go best player on the board since this thing's being an ass. Does not play defense. Weak shot. Fearless with his body, but he has a weak shot. His slap shot looks pretty potent. Non-flashy game. Incorporates aggressiveness and effort. Big, strong two-way center. Can look lazy on the ice. Too much of a gentle giant. No. Aiden Park I remember Aiden Park being considered a top 5 pick at one point. He is a project, but, you know, I think the value's there. Jacob Battaglia, I do like him here. Yeah, it's just like I want to scroll all the way down. It's not letting me. Adam Jetcho, too much of a gentle giant, small and weak. I'm gonna go back to San Jose. Are we on the 4th round yet? No, we're not. Who are we on? Chicago? Like who? Let's see. Kevin He needs line mates to generate chances. Upside is questionable. Lanky, big frame, 2-liner, works hard, makes some bad decisions. Upside is questionable. Drives to the net, not physical. Solid passer, not high end offensively. 0 defense, overpowered in physical play. Plays bigger than his size. John Whipple. Okay, so 101 is Columbus. Are we on 100 or 101? Okay, Columbus. Let's see what we can do here. Eric Berger, Orebro HK. I am going to go with him. Let's see here. Lucas Fisher, he does make some bad decisions. Possesses a shot, can look lazy on the ice. Great shot. 6'5", 201. At this point, we'll gamble on him. So basically, after the top 100 players, yes, so basically, they only did write-ups for the top 100, Joey. They did. They only did write-ups for the top 100. So that's how little scouting reports they did. And that's how most draft people in hockey do. Most draft people in hockey, they will only do write-ups for their top 100, and then they basically have fun and half-ass it the rest of the way. Because doing 7 rounds for hockey... All right, since yeah, I do want to go through. Yeah, so I could go through pick by pick, break down more scenarios, but I'm scrolled all the way down to like the 4th round, and it's just not showing me the teams. It's not showing me the teams here. So what we'll do here is, since I did pick for Dallas, I guess we could simulate to my pick. Because, I mean, it's like, I'm just clicking on players that fit the profile here. So to make things interesting, since the Dallas Stars only have 3 picks at 31, 160, and 224, to make things interesting, I will make those picks, and I'll have to research the players myself. So Logan Crosby's available. I do like Logan Crosby. Logan Crosby was a player that was drafted in the 1st round of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League draft. I do like Logan Crosby. He was a 1st round pick by the Halifax Mooseheads. I trust Cam Fisher, the GM of the Halifax Mooseheads. I trust him. He's big on a culture. He's big on a
character. He drafted Logan Crosby in the first round. Logan Crosby only had 9 goals, 13 assists, 22 points in 33 games. That's not great. Those are not great numbers. Ethan Procision, North Bay Battalion. He's ranked 48th by Central Scouting. 36 points in 62 games. That's not great. Ben Robertson, a defenseman at Cornell. Let's see what we got here. Because Cornell did make the college hockey tournament. Six foot 5'11", 181. 5 goals, 18 assists, 23 points at Cornell. He had 45 points in 61 games with the Waterloo Blackhawks. And he is 19. He's not 18. He's 19. And last year he had a... I'm reading his scouting report. Last year he had a 73 overall, and 73 overall out of 99, a 64 out of 99 in offense, an 80 out of 99 in transition, and a 69 out of 99 in defense. I'm not sure if that's good. On a blue line that featured several notable prospects, including a first-round pick, it was Ben Robertson who led the way in scoring. A patient, shifty playmaker. Robertson's gap control and breakouts consistently improved, but work remains. He loses too much speed through his pivots. He has an NHL mind. Intelligence often finds a way. Perhaps he could become a bottom-pairing playmaker after a few years at Cornell. Bottom-pairing defenseman is kind of what Dallas needs. But we have Christian Kyrou in that respect as well. I'm going to go through the top players at each position. Nolan Road, Tri-City Storm. Caden Patir of the Flint Firebirds. This is where it gets tough. Caden Patir. Caden Patir, 10 goals, 20 assists, 30 points. Gavin Hodnett out of the Edmonton Oil Kings. Because the big challenge for me is to try to find a steal in the draft. That's always the big challenge. Gavin Hodnett had 23 goals, 47 assists, 70 points in 61 games. He's ranked 223rd on Central Scouting because he's 5'8", 159. If he wasn't so small, I would pull the trigger and pick him here. It's like, yeah, I mean, I wanted to keep going from round 4 or 5, pick by pick, but it's like, yeah, you know, it's like it's not loading the picks. And, you know, with Dallas, I'm going to take my time and make sure I get a good player. Oh, just wait. We're going to be covering this draft in 6 weeks from 6 weeks from today. A lot of people, at first I thought this draft had more talent in the first round than last year. But when people said this is a weak draft, they were saying it's a shitty draft after the first round. That's basically what most people meant by that. It's top heavy in round 1, but after that, the talent just, it's not there. It's not what you'd like. Jesse Heslop. Jesse Heslop, 136, 19 goals, 35 assists, 54 points. Don't hate it. Don't love it either. Dallas, we have Logan Crosby. Marco Mignosa. Let's see what we got here. Marco Mignosa of the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. 6 foot, 168. 53 points in 57 games. No. Left defenseman, Paul Mayer of Adler Mannheim. That's in Germany. .6'3", 187. He had 0.0 assists in 13 games on Adler Mannheim. But I'm going to see what line he was on. Yeah, I want to see where they have Paul Mayer listed at as far as the line combinations go. Where is he listed at? Yeah, I just want to see where he's listed. David Svadsville is on Ilves. Ilves is a good hockey program in Sweden. I just want to see where Paul Mayer is listed. Like, he's been in 13 games in Germany. Where is Mayer listed in those games? That's kind of what I'd like to know. Is he first, second, third line, fourth line? Where is he listed on the team website? Because he only played 13 games, but he had a minimal impact with the team. Third line, so no. David Svazel of Ilves under 20 team. David Svazel. He might be the younger brother of Stanley Cup Svazel. That might be the guy I'm looking at. Yes, he is the brother of Stanley Svazel, who was Stanley Svazel was the top defenseman from he was the top defenseman from the Czech Republic in the 2021 draft. Stanley Svazel, he was the top defenseman so his younger brother David's on the board here. That is going to be my second pick for Dallas. I'm going to take another defenseman here. Unless there's a goalie. No, I'll just take Svazel. And yeah, so we'll think this is the last pick in the draft. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, Dax Williams from the Calgary Hitmen. I want to see all the positions that are available. Jokeri, Juho Kainanen, Jokeri, Dax Williams, Calgary Hitmen. Dax Williams had 20 points in 67 games. A lot of these defensemen, Roman Chakrin, Francesco Delecci, Jake Fisher from the Fargo Force is on the board. Let's see what we got here. NHL Central Scouting has Jake Fisher at 97 on their rankings. That's interesting. He 47 points in 51 games. No. AJ Spalacy, the Windsor Spitfires alternate captain, is on the board here. And that might be worth considering. Spalacy, no. So there's not a center I want. There's not a left winger I want. There's not a right winger I want. I've already drafted 2 defensemen. Do I really want a third one? Nate Miskey from the 34 points. Jack Bodine, Yeah, I mean, this draft, I'm sure this draft will get better leading up to the draft process as I do more film and study more of the class. I'm sure it'll get better. But right now, it's not encouraging. Okay, so this guy was the captain of the Sweden under-17 team that made the World Junior Championship. That's good. Jack Bodine. So, I mean, that's probably the best resume I've seen for a 7th-round pick, but it's not a great resume either. 6'4", 212. I want to see what goalies are available. Are there any good goalies this late? Because Scott Wedgwood's a free agent. I'm kind of at the point where I want to see, can we get a good goalie here to end the draft in terms of value? That's kind of what I'm looking at, Joey, is there a goalie with good value to end the draft? No. Sault Ste. Marie's goalie does not have good value. Caleb Heil. Let's see what we got here. Jacob Heil has an 850. Oh, 850 goals against average, 850 save percentage. Yeah. So Luca Cloutier from the Chicago Steel. Let's see what this guy. Chicago Steel usually have good players. I'm checking the goalies to see if I missed 368 save percent, 368 goals against average, 904 save percentage. I would like to have a goalie with a goals against average of below 3 and a save percentage of above 900. If I can't do that, I'm going to take the defenseman from Sweden. But I'm trying to find a goalie here. Marcus Gidloff, 6'6", 212. Has a goals against average of 9 and a 625 save percentage in his only start against men in Sweden. Nope. Cam Hendrickson, high school goalie. No. I'm not taking a high school goalie that late. But I'll do some research here, but, I'm probably not taking a goalie. It's just not happening here. It's like, yeah, Cam Hendrickson with the Omaha. Actually, Cam Hendrickson's numbers are good, Joey. Surprisingly, Cam Hendrickson had a 101 goals against average and a 951 save percentage as the team captain of his high school team at Nason High School in Minnesota. He also started 7 games for the Omaha Lancers with a 292 goals against average and a 924 save percentage. Okay, Hendrickson's numbers are actually respectable enough to where I'm cool with picking him and developing him into a backup for Ottinger because we don't need him to be our starter. We just need a good backup to Ottinger. And, Cam Hendrickson's numbers are respectable enough to warrant consideration. So I will take Cam Hendrickson here. Are there any picks left in the 7th round? I think the Rangers, is that it? Is that the draft? I'm just double checking to see if that's the entire draft. It might be, it might not be. I'm double check. No, the Penguins have 225. I thought 32 times 7 is 224. Let me double check something here. 32 times 7. 32 times 7 is 224. So why is there an extra pick on the board? I guess we're just going to give the Penguins Jack Bodine because I was considering Bodine for Dallas, but no, we'll go with but yeah, it does list the top pick for each team. Oilers' top pick was Clark Caswell, Carter Yekchuk, Cade Lidstrom for the Canadiens. So a lot of the teams' top picks were their first round picks, which doesn't come as any surprise to Joey. And that may be because some of the value picks just suck.
Jet Luchenko, Jet Luchenko was not the Penguins' first pick. He was the Penguins' second pick. But the simulator said that was their top pick. Miles Cooper, a player the Tampa Bay Lightning drafted. I didn't even draft him. He was their top pick. Kevin He was the Vancouver Canucks' top pick. Niagara Ice Dogs left winger. Cole Hudson, top pick for the Golden Knights. Adam Jiricek. A lot of these teams. Leo Solin Waldenius, Pareka, top pick for the Kraken. So a lot of these teams getting the player. Michael Hage, Kings first round pick. Carl Sterner was the Florida Panthers top pick, according to the simulator. I didn't even pick half these players. That's the thing. Andrew Basha, Avalanche. Ivan Demidov. Thomas Lavoie, Hurricanes. Zeev William. Maximilian Curran. I did not pick Maximilian Curran, yet he is the top pick for the Bruins. Sam Dickinson, top pick for the Coyotes. Lashunov. So that is the simulator, folks. But yeah, you can see it's hard to find value after the first two rounds this year. Now, I think that will change once I rewatch the tape on some of these guys, once I do the mock draft. I do think that'll change. But right now, knowing that 6 weeks from today, the NHL draft rounds 2 through 7 will be on television, and Joey and I will be live streaming that. Right now, Joey's very discouraged because the quality of talent isn't what you're used to seeing at this point. But I'm sure there will be a few first, second round guys that fall to round 2 for undisclosed reasons. I'm sure there will be. It happens every year. It's like, it happens every year in the draft where a guy who should have gone in the first round drops to the second round. It happens every year. It does. Reddit, Scott Wheeler of The Athletic, first 23 picks. So they're basically just linking the article on Reddit. They're not posting the picks. They're basically just saying, click the link, paywall. Yeah, I'm not clicking the paywall. I'm not gonna read click to text. But yeah, you can see what I did on the live stream. Wait. Oh, hold on a second. Did it really do that? Evan Gardner went to the Sharks at 131. Martin Hronik, Noah Vai. So Toronto took multiple goalies. So basically, before I X out of the simulator, I'll show you what each team did. Vegas basically took 3 centers after getting Cole Hudson. They need wingers. So this is not a great Vegas draft. The simulator computer did worse than I did, which is actually kind of sad, Joey, that the computer did worse than I did. Doesn't that say a lot? I mean, it's like the computer did worse than I did, which is actually kind of sad because it's like, you know, you're at least expecting the computer to get something right. But no, the computer did worse than I did. I'm sorry if that makes me an ass for saying that, but, you know, the Penguins basically went center, goalie, right winger. Flyers went with right winger, center. We are going to sign off soon. Catan, Boisvert, Ralph. So, center, left winger. That's not realistic for the Devils. They need at least one more defender and a goalie. Alexander Zetterberg and Greentree really the only realistic picks, but Romani, not bad value at 115. Nashville has a ton of draft picks. They've got 22. They've got 3 seconds and 2 thirds, and they've got 99, the first pick in round 4.
well, third pick in round 4, but still, they've got 7 picks in the top 100, the Nashville Predators. They have a lot of draft capital. For a team that makes the playoffs, they have 7 draft picks in the top 100. I don't think I've ever seen that. A team with 7 draft picks in the top 100. That's actually pretty impressive. I would not have guessed that they had that much capital. Honestly, kind of surprised and impressed by that. But they can get some good value out of this draft if they hit on their picks. Nashville's one of these teams that could end up getting some value out of this draft. Florida does not pick until 95, and I gave them a Kale Sterner, the Frolunda right winger. I went left wing defense. Just showing people what each team did on the live stream, not just the best pick each team made, but what each team ended up doing. The Oilers go Clark Carswell. They also get John Parsons. Oilers get 2 goalies in this draft. The Red Wings, I thought the Red Wings did well. I went for right wing defense with the Red Wings picks, and then Jack Good ends up on the Red Wings at 128. Dallas, I did pick for. I did take Hendrickson because Cam Hendrickson's numbers are good for a goalie, and he's a workaholic. And we're not getting him as a starter. You're getting him as a backup to Ottinger. That's not a horrible pick when you consider the value he brings as late in the draft as he did. The computer gave Columbus went defense, goalie, left wing, right wing, defense, center. Max Swanson, no relation to Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec, is the Columbus Blue Jackets' last pick at 165. Colorado went left wing, center, goalie, center, right wing, left wing, center, choosing to ignore defense, but they already have a decent blue line. Chicago has 3. Chicago has a ton of draft capital, though. They've got 7 picks in the first 72. So they've got a lot of draft capital. Carolina has a lot of draft capital as well, but it's not really. But yeah, they have 28, 61, 93, 125. Buffalo, Calgary has 9, 29, 41, 64, 74, 84. So they've got 6 picks in the top 84. They got a lot of capital. Buffalo has a lot of capital. But yeah, this is kind of a depressing draft compared to previous years, Joey, because outside of the number 1 pick, Celebrini, there's not a player who's going to be in the NHL this year. And then the number 2 and number 3 picks are 1-year projects, and the number 4 pick 2 years and above. And then who knows how long it takes the rest of the picks in this class to get to the NHL. Dickinson, Alick, Galvis, Coyotes, I just loaded up on the blue line. I gave them Poirier. But the Coyotes, they have 7 picks in the top 90. They have a lot of capital. And then the Anaheim Ducks. So there's a lot of teams. Anaheim, Utah, formerly known as the Coyotes. There's a lot of picks. We will do an NBA Draft Simulator next week. And we will also go over weeks 1 through 9 of the NFL schedule. But in the NBA Draft Simulator, Joey's probably going to take some seniors. Since we're going to mix it up, I'm gonna pick for half the teams. Joey's gonna pick for the other half with the NBA Draft Simulator next week. You're gonna see a lot of seniors come off the board. Like whenever Joey's on the clock, he's gonna take a senior. So it's gonna be a unique mock draft in that respect because Joey does not like the one and done rule. He can't stand it, and it's like. We're doing an NBA Draft Simulator, and he's picking for half the teams. He's going to pick seniors over underclassmen. That's just how it is. But yeah, that's the draft. I did end up getting Frage, Svozil, and Cam Hendrickson. But yeah, that will do it for this edition of Draft Utopia. I want to thank our 47 listeners, 46 on Twitter, 1 on Twitch. Anything you want to add before we sign off, Joey? All right, we'll be back next week, and we will talk NBA Draft Simulator. We will also talk about Paul Skenes' first start against the Cubs next week, if we want to, and then we'll also be talking about the NFL schedule, weeks 1 through 9. We will not be doing weeks 1 through 18 in one show like we did last year, but we will do weeks 1 through 9, and we will make it a two-parter. We'll make it a two-parter. So you'll get 1 through 9 next week, and then 10 through 18 the other week, and then every week leading up to June. Yeah, you'll get our Super Bowl predictions on NHL Draft Day. You'll get the wild card first week of June. Second week of June will be the divisional round. Third week of June will be the AFC and NFC title games. And then the fourth week of June will be the Super Bowl winners. So you'll get our Super Bowl winners on the day of the NHL Draft in 6 weeks from today. Does that make me an asshole for making our audience wait that long to find out who Joey and I are going to pick to win the Super Bowl? No, it doesn't. Some will say it does, but I think the suspense is the fun part of my NFL predictions as well as Joey's. It's the suspense element. And leaving our audience on all these cliffhangers, maybe we'll do the conference title and Super Bowl the week before the NHL draft so we are not completely swamped. Yeah, we'll do that. But yeah, we are going to leave our audience on a cliffhanger as far as NFL predictions go. That's part of the fun with these podcasts. So next week it'll be NBA Draft Simulator, and then the NFL predictions for weeks 1 through 9, and then there will be an MLB Draft Simulator if I can find one. I don't know if there is one. I think NFL Draft Database might have an MLB Draft Simulator. I don't know if there is one. Yeah, so Prospects Live has a mock draft simulator. But is it a mock? Oh, no, it is a mock draft. You can choose the Guardians. You can begin the draft. Prospects Live does have a draft simulator. Oh, it's behind a paywall. Oh! We moved the mock draft simulator to the Patreon. Really, guys? I mean, it's like, I get it. It's your company. You can do what you want with it, but it's like, you got the only MLB draft simulator in the country, and you choose to put it behind a paywall. I get it. It's your company. You can do what you want with it. It's just, man, is there anybody has an MLB draft simulator that doesn't have it behind a paywall? I mean, that's the only one. I mean, I think NFL Mock Draft Database does have an MLB Draft Simulator, and their thing is free, but it's like, we'll see. But yeah, if that's the only one, that explains why it's behind. If that's like the only MLB Draft Simulator, that explains why. And to be fair, NFL Mock Draft Database does great work, and they link our mock drafts. And if they ever said, look, Chris, we will let you use our code, but the catch is you have to pay us through Patreon each month, I would probably agree to that. He's not going to agree to that necessarily, but if he gave me that offer, I would agree to that offer. And he has not given me that offer, so I'm not going to speak nonsense into existence. But yeah, Prospects Live Mock Draft Simulator, that was from the 2023, so they made one for the 2023 Mock Draft Simulator. But yeah, that's nuts that the mock draft, there's not a mock draft simulator for the MLB draft. So we're not going to, when we do our MLB draft, we're basically just going to have to go off of prospects and do it on paper or organize the picks or whatever. So yeah, I mean, we'll do a top 30, but we will not do comp picks for the sandwich round. But, it'll be interesting. We'll have the MLB draft in 2 weeks, a rough draft of what we're going to do. And then NBA next week, and Joey's going to pick a lot of seniors, so be warned. If you're a freshman or sophomore and it's Joey's pick, Joey's probably not going to pick you. But I think that's what makes it fun, because it's not as much realistic as it is what we would do in these situations. So, yeah, that's next week, along with weeks 1 through 9 of the NFL schedule. Joey could have the Bills at 9-0, or the Chiefs at 9-0, or the Ravens at 9-0, or the Browns at 9-0, and then a team slips up in the second half. You don't know how it's going to play out if we make the NFL schedule a two-parter. That's part of the reason why we're making it a two-parter. But yeah, I'm about ready to sign off on TalkShoe and Restream. That's Joseph Potter. I'm Chris Ransom. We'll be back next Saturday with the NFL schedules and NBA Draft Simulator. See you then.